So we're going to start off. I've challenged Hugh in this session. This is about how he achieves the results we heard over there. And I'll just point you, this is page 25, 27 is the starting pages of this session. Okay, so we've seen the performance, we've seen the financial performance, and we all should know the relationship between physical and financial performance. So the more grass, the more pasture and feed, the more homegrown feed we can eat off our platform, every time we increase that, we're increasing profitability. And I think we'd all agree Hugh and Anna are doing a very good job of that. Anybody disagree? Because then we have to go back to the start. Okay, that's good. So we're going to start off just by painting a big overview picture with the first board behind Hugh, where we challenged him to say, okay, can you, in one diagram, explain how you set up your system and the key sort of decisions that go on throughout the year? And this is what we've come up with. So, Hugh, if you start at the far end, which is next month, you talked a little bit about wintering cows off and the difference that makes in your system. Do you want to just run through the first few months of the season up to balance date, just pointing out the key decisions and where you learnt those things from your past history?
Okay, yeah. So we'll start at June, 1st of June coming up. We're looking at, we've dried most things off, and we send 200 cows over to our dry stock farm, which is over that side, and just alleviates the pressure. And our heifers are still all over there as well, so that leaves us only with a couple of hundred sort of cows left over here. And so that gives us time to build some cover through June. June is actually still quite a good growing month here. I know it doesn't feel like it today, but we can get some good days. And lets us build our round up. So we lock up all these paddocks around here for colostrums and the new season. So we just, try not to, and just be strategic about what we're grazing. So we try to get out to about a 60, 70, 80-day round, whatever we can kind of achieve there, and just really start trying to build some cover. We start calving around the 10th of July. We've brought that forward a couple of times. We started around the 15th and now we've brought up to that 10th, and we still think we can handle it pretty well. And that's where the 84% 6-week and calf rate really tested that one though, because they came in real quick. But we do that. That's where we start putting a bit of supplement feed just to try get through that curve there. We're obviously well ahead of the growth rate there, so we do have to fill that gap in a bit. We're basically just trying to follow our spring rotation planner, which we've got in the back of our heads. We haven't really done much of that for the last couple of years, but we've got our system going, so we haven't really had to follow it as much. But that's where you kind of get the idea from, is following that sort of system. So basically we get right through there, and we've slowing around down as a calf. They naturally just need more area, so that's always the big battle, is trying not to go too fast before balance day, but I always run into that issue. So we've just naturally just got to fill the gap in with a bit of something there, as I said before, and rolls it that way.
So you've got on there main supplement being grass silage during that time of the year?
Yes, definitely, yep, because dried off, so we're not using in-shed feeder. So we do just have to use a bit of grass silage where needed. And all the cows are wintering off on their own feed over there, so yeah, it's not too bad.
And it looks like you're targeting an average pasture cover about 2,000 at the start of June?
Yeah, that's right. So that's a bit of a point of difference at the moment. I'm not too worried about trying to build cover just yet. I know a lot of people are trying to build lots of, 24 sort of cover by 1st of June. I'm not too worried about that myself, because we do have the wintering off options, and as I say, I'm not scared of June. June actually does grow pretty well still, so we can build cover. So that's where I like to think we make a bit extra milk at this time of year, and just make the girls work a little bit harder, but within reason, yeah.
another key thing to look on there is the purple line being demand. So you're at 3.4 cows a hectare.
Yep.
Most farmers and most like more pasture focused farmers, and from your history, would have tried to align pasture supply and feed demand closer. So how did you come up with the system? It's hasn't just been a one-off.
No, that's right. Yep, and that comes back to the yearly thing of what's the payout doing and what's the imported feed costing us. So those are the things we're just keeping up, trying to work out. Every year is going to be a little bit different. We can always cull a little bit earlier if we have to, but we try not to because we're always trying to make that extra bit of milk, and just trying to follow what's it's costing us is a big thing. Yeah.
So hopefully everybody can decipher this graph and see there's only a very short period of the year where they've set a farm system up with any type of surplus. Okay? So why? Like, you've got this big period here of deficit and you've generated a deficit here.
Yep.
Why do it that way, and how did you come to that?
Okay.
Just elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, okay. Yep, so basically all about grass quality. It's always pain having a bad residual. It makes you... I always seem to have a mate turn up when the cows have done a poor job on residuals, and you go, damn it. But so I try and minimise that by stocking higher, basically. But always trying to keep those residuals on point, and it always costs. You always got wastage making silage, so I try and minimise that as much as possible. And it's a job I do myself, so the less I have to do it, the better. And as I say, we've got the option of buying feed in as an engineered feeder, so we don't count on that silage as such. It's just nice to have, having some spare bales floating around, but yeah, we don't really count on that. So that's the big thing there, is just trying to keep that to the minimum and just try buy in. We can just use a supplement feed through this area here, and if we need to, if the economics aren't working out, we can cull to bring that back down to that line. So that's how we kind of roll with that.
And the other thing on here, you've got your round length. So you're on a reasonably fast round during winter.
Yep.
Dropping down to 24 days. Do you want to just give us the reasons why 24 and why 70?
Yep. So 70. So I'm not a big fan of having big, massive pastures because I think they just take way too long to grow back. We'll talk a bit more with Jane about that. I just don't like having a big graveyard of tillers after 3,500 cover paddock and the cows are decked it down to 1,200. Just takes too long to come back. So I try to keep it a little bit faster. Try to look after the ground as much as possible because dam is just an absolute waste. So I'd rather go a little bit faster. You might miss out on a little bit of growth at the other end of it, but I try and alleviate that too as much as I can by not going too quick. But that's a big thing there. Just a bit faster in winter. We do have that. We do have the option of the wintering off cows, but that's only goes so far. But that's why we do a little bit faster through the winter here. And then down to 24-day round. It gets faster than that, obviously, with silage out and things like that. Or on a really bad day and need an extra paddock or something. But, that's generally what I try to stick to is that 24-day round.
Yep. And you've got here, and I'm expecting, I'll preempt the question, you've got 24 days all the way through summer, and you've got here a fairly good average growth rate during summer. Do you want to just, that's from experience, I take it?
Yep.
Yep.
So coming into the summer as well, this is where we start looking at weather forecasts and things like that, and how soon we need to slow it around down again. Same again, I'm probably a bit guilty of going a bit too fast in summer, but at the same time, I think trying to lock up too early, you lose a lot of quality and lose a lot of milk that way by trying to put cows into 40-day round grass and end of January when it's it's gone too long and rank already, where you could have still been a bit faster. Say Wotu is pretty good summer safe sort of country, so I do keep a bit faster, and it seems to keep the quality there, and I'm big on that. It seems to make the milk better, and worry about the gap tomorrow. I make it later Hugh's problem, basically.
So I'm sure that's generating the odd question, and that's where I'm going to prompt you to put those into Slido or just write it on the back of your hand. just so because we're going to give you as much time as possible to ask questions. But I think he's transitioned nicely into the next part of what we wanted to go through. So we've got an annual plan. Annual plans are great on the first day. It's like a battle plan, but as soon as the first bullet's fired or the first week of the new season starts, things change. So that's why we've got this board we put together with Anna and Hugh, just looking at what were their main pasture decision rules. And we sort of framed up established the plan for sort of during a weekly, monthly basis. So we've got our annual plan. So here, when you're looking sort of 4 to 7 days ahead, what are you doing? Like, how are you achieving all these results practically?
Okay, so basically, there's certain times a year. We're just always keeping your eye on the covers out there and getting the cows in and things like that. There's been a great time to go looking out there and see what's happening. So basically, I do annoy myself a little bit because I'm changing my paddocks quite often, and they always want a bit of a plan of 2 or 3 days ahead, but I can never give it to them because I'm always changing it. That seems to be that often. But just as you notice with land like this, there's just naturally paddocks that grow better than others, and just no matter how well they're doing. So the big thing I'm just always looking at is just the covers and that. And getting an eye on, the big thing too, I believe in, is having an eye on what your herd's going to eat. I'm sure a lot of farmers here will understand that. They can look at a paddock and know what their herd's going to deck it or leave some behind before the cows even go in there. So it's a big eye to have, I think, and that's everyone grows that with time anyway. So basically we're just looking at what the cover's doing, what's happening in the next sort of 4 days. I try ideally have sort of 4 days if you can get it, but and then you're just looking at what weather forecast, time of year. Those are the big things, what the drivers of round length, and how you kind of going about it.
So in the past, you were traditionally doing farm walks.
Yes.
Yeah. You no longer do that.
Yeah, that's right. So when I first started farming, did the farm walks every 10, 14 days. So I've done all that and know how that goes. That was on a nice flat Mammoth farm, and that was quite easy to do. But you come up to a farm like this, and you just suddenly got hills everywhere and campsites and all those sorts of things. So just a big time-consuming factor now. So, but over time, I believe, kind of got my eye into what covers are looking like, and kind of don't need to kind of do it, but I do recommend new people learning pasture management that should do those sorts of things to get your eye in. It's a big thing. Yeah.
Yep, and we've got a few examples of a post grazing next door, yes. And you're standing in a paddock that he was hoping was going to be at its optimum pre-grazing, and then we've got another paddock behind. So just like those, we've actually pre-measured these, and I'm open for discussion later. They were pre-measured by eye with you.
Yep.
We then dusted off a pasture plate meter, thanks to Hamish from Northland. Had to wipe the kikuyu off at first. And then one of the committee, I think it was Robbie himself, brought out AIMA and used AIMA. And
that was really impressive.
Yeah. Talk us through, because you're like one of the big things we want to get across is your observation.
Yep.
Okay, and you're talking about I'm looking and I'm allocating and I'm making these decisions, and I'm trying to work out which of my 4 paddocks in this part.
Yep.
Okay. We've got 1550 residual over there. Okay.
This was crazy yesterday. It was quite funny. There's 3 of us here, and not one of us wanted to make the call on when to pull the cows out. We didn't have a plate meter on us, but and we did pretty well. We were trying to aim for 1500, and we're pretty close. This is a trash paddock. This is basically the hospital paddock where there's always lambs or sick cows in here. So this paddock does kind of get treated a bit differently to everything else. So hence a bit more rubbish in here. But we couldn't get the cows to eat it much more than that. They were wondering why they were in here.
And
So-
just to back up his observation skills, we asked what his opinion was, and he said, "Oh, I'm happy that's around 1,500." A couple of us were thinking that it was a lot higher than that. The plate meter said just under that, and so did AIMA. Okay, so that's why we wrote 1,550 as a bit of a balance out between what everything was showing us. And I also played it through here, and we did the same thing again. Multiple people here I assessed, we plate metered, and did we use AIMA in this one?
I think we did.
No. And we got pretty close to the middle ground between what we all thought our eye assessment was, which meant not quite ready in your
Yeah,
books.
that's
Explain that.
Yep. So basically looking at this paddock here, and I'm sure, well, you can tell, not quite ready to go. Still probably ideally, another week to 10 days out for depending on the grass growth rates. But basically the big thing you'll be looking at is, of course, clumps and things like that, and getting the general eye of the paddock. And this one's obviously quite short in a lot of places here still, so there's still a bit of time to go.
So that's sort of where you're starting to refine your plan.
Yep.
Yep.
That's
So
right.
how often are you going into every paddock, or you and your team going into every paddock the day before it's due to be grazed, and then making that final decision together? Explain it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. So, that question's asked every day. Alvin and Laura both know the first thing I kind of ask is like, "Oh, how'd that paddock look where they came out of?" It's the first thing I kind of always ask. And then how's it? And then if like Alvin, like, what are the next couple of paddocks coming up looking like? And they can change. Sometimes they can look different in the sunlight even, and things like that, since we're not actually physically measuring them with a plate meter. But you just gotta. The big thing is just having a good overall look at the paddock. Driving in there is always the best way of doing it, and just seeing, measuring on even boot height and things like that, and just getting a good judge of the paddock, and going from there. Yeah.
So you were talking about boot height.
Yep.
What are you looking for to give you a good estimation of the right yield you're after?
The height, how far up my boot it comes, and then how thick it is as you're driving through the paddock. So that's a big thing, is just seeing if it's like real sparse. It's kind of there's a massive difference. The height could be there. If it's sparse, then you know they're going to absolutely smoke that paddock in no time at all. So it's having those little eyes, things to consider when you're picking pre-grazing covers.
Yep. So you mentioned to me on Friday about weather forecasting, and you were very it was one of your key decision tools.
Yep.
Why?
Oh yeah, well, we just got a 10-day forecast. So I'm always living on that thing and seeing what's happening coming up. Just basically, if you know there's a big dry spell coming up, right, we better start tightening our belt buckles and try and extend your round out a little bit if you can. Try to hold back. Same as though, like, that's why I'm not set on doing 30 days at Christmas, because I believe you can lose a lot of opportunity there by sticking to a plan like that. Whereas it might be still good all the way through January and sometimes into February. It has been for the last few years. It's actually got dry a lot later on and really hurt you there. But I'd take the risk, and I just go a bit faster for it longer, keep the cows happier, keep them milking better, and then just tighten up once it's looking like 25-degree days for the next 10 days. You know it's going to hurt pretty soon, so that's where you start reeling it in.
And then you've grazed the paddock. What are you looking to confirm? What are you looking at that confirm that you got this part right?
That.
Yeah. Plus what?
That, and you're looking at the vat, of course. The beauty of Levno these days, you know exactly after milking what how many litres you've had, and you compare it to the day before. And that's how you just know how well you hit it on the spot or not. That's the big thing there. So
you also talked about watching what my cows are doing.
Yes, yep, and behavioural, yep, of course.
Yep.
Cow behaviour. Are they rushing to the shed for a feed and a meal, or are they slow and lethargic, and you're getting annoyed at them being so slow? Those are all the simple things that they all add up, and that's really shows you what's happening out there. So
Okay.
yeah, but residual's the biggest one. You just know looking at the paddock that this came out of, if you've done a good job or not.
Yep.
And just setting it up for the big thing is through spring is making sure you're setting yourself up for the next time round. If the residual is a bit higher than you want it to be, we label it on a diary and know, right, we're either going to go in there sooner or we're going to top it or make it in silage if we've got surplus. Yep.
So just to reinforce your key point, you're looking the day before. I'm going in there. What am I looking at?
Yep. Looking at the pre-grazing cover.
Yep. And what else? Because we're going to do an exercise on it. You want to preempt it.
Oh yeah, of course. So we're looking at the tiller stage of the pasture. Yep. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So that's one of your key decision. What leaf stage is my pre-grazing cover at?
Yep.
And we also plated the paddock behind us, which is another one that's coming up due, and we estimated by eye and used AIMA, and the AIMA and the plate meter were pretty close on that one, just over 2,900. And I plate metered up right across to the other side of the paddock and back. And eye estimation, we were all a little bit higher than that.
We did just because we were thrown out a little bit with that one, not too much, but yeah. Yep. I was super impressed on how close AIMA was, actually. That was pretty cool, done with the camera of the phone. Yeah.
But what it did show, if you walk across the paddock, which is one of your key points about
getting in the paddock and actually looking, not just looking from the gateway.
Yep.
Is
the front third of this paddock, because you've got a gateway that end and that end, the front third against this fence, quite a lot higher cover and denser compared to the next third out in the paddock when you walk across it. So we'll hand over now to questions, because I think the gem and the gold comes from your guys' questions and challenging him.
Yeah.
So, I want to just wait for have we got a roving mic for Arthur?
That on? No, yeah. Hey, so we're looking at the 24-25 data for growth and what have you up here, which where we live in Cambridge was a prick of a year for a lack of growth. Were you badly affected here compared with this year? In other words, has your input of feed changed with a better growing season?
Yeah, well, we had a real tough spring here too, though. So I do remember having put a lot of supplement for that. On a good year, basically you're watching, as say, you're just watching cow behaviours and residuals on to how much supplement we're using. So not often we're changing it daily, but we are changing it almost every week or so, more or less. But although we can go quite a long time without changing it, it's all just ticking along pretty well.
So you haven't really struggled that much with the dry summer this year compared to last year?
This year's been fine. Last year was pretty hard, yeah.
But that hasn't really materially changed your inputs?
No, not really, no. This year we've put a little bit more inputs in just because the payout's been good and the prices were low. Whether we're seeing the good return on that investment or not is soon to be seen. See how we go.
Yeah, and so output this year is up?
What, sorry?
Milk production is up this year?
Yeah, it is slightly up, yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The big question is it up enough?
Yeah, that's the big question, yeah. Yep.
And just to reiterate that point, so if your feed dip supply line here is here, what happens to this? Because that was one of the big questions I had for you.
Yeah, so I'm more for... so if the feed demand line here, massive dry summer in January, I would 100% just go onto a 60-day round and put as much supplement in as we can. There's no point spinning around on grass that's struggling and just not growing, because you end up overgrazing and wrecking your pasture that way. So that will be a very costly exercise, and you hope you don't have it, but that's what droughts are. You just simply have to deal with them and go forward from there. So that's what we do there. So it's not strict 24-day round here or there. It's just that does move anywhere and needs to. Same as that sort of end. We'll hold that. It can be slower too, but yeah, it all depends on the season.
And you see round length over this period as a key way of protecting your pasture as well?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Overgrazing is a big thing to really avoid, yeah.
Okay. Question?
Yeah, do you have a private ag consultant involved in your business or not? Just with those sort of decision-making things monthly or 6 monthly or?
No, just usually I've got enough farming mates here where they seem to be consultants enough when they turn up and point out my flaws.
Team-wise, between you, Anna, and your on-farm team,
Yep.
do you do a bit of in the paddock together, or is it kind of you look, report back?
Yeah, just kind of a little bit of discussion around that, sure. Probably not out there together as such very often, but I'm definitely all for trying to train them to be able to do it as well. It just takes pressure off myself, obviously, and I want them to learn. Like, you know, hopefully they're going to run their own farms or manage their own businesses one day. So you always want them to learn that sort of thing as well.
Question at the back.
Hugh, you've clearly got a good eye for pasture. Could you tell us, please, a little bit what are we standing in? I mean, what's the cultivar? What's the endophyte? When did you? How old is it? And because you spend so little money on regrassing, tell us about your regrassing program a bit.
Yeah, that's a good one. I wouldn't have a clue how old this pasture is. I wouldn't. I try not to touch it. I've been through doing chicory every year. I did that for about five or so years every year. I might have done it longer. And I was constantly kind of disappointed on the after that the grass would go really well for a few years. You spray, you do all the pasture spraying you want, and it always end up pulling and fizzling out a bit. And then just the cost of it and the time of it, and for chicory especially it really boosted in March, and that's right when you had to spray it out. So I got annoyed with that as well. So I kind of did away with that, and I thought we came to this farm. This pasture was a real tidy farm, so we I thought, well, if it's not broken, we won't fix it. We don't have to fix it. We just leave it, and we do the odd bit of winter pasture spraying, just tidy what you need up. But on that we thought, we'll just, the higher stocking rate kind of keeps everything tidier, and we can rely on the supplement feeds while the costs are favourable. Yeah.
Hey, thanks. Do you ever put cows back into the paddock if you're not happy with the residual? And do you have views on 12 versus 24-hour grazing?
Yeah, okay. No, I try not to. It's got to be pretty bad putting them back in there. But often they've left it high for a reason, so something's gone wrong. But no, generally not. As I say, I'll just label it and go in there faster, or I'll make sure I mowed it either way, topped it or silaged it next time around. 12 versus 24-hour grazing. I'm big on back fencing and just getting it chewed off as fast as possible and getting the cows out of there fast as possible is my big thing, and this just gives you more time for regrowth. 24-hour grazing, yeah, sure, it's easier, but I do like to think you get that little bit of an edge getting the cows out of there as soon as possible and keeping things fresh.
I'm sure Kevin McDonald will sidle up to you about that topic afterwards. Lachlan? We've got a question in the middle, and then you, Lachlan.
Is this going? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Very impressed with your performance so far from what we've seen. What I'm interested in is how would you do you have any machinery or equipment to measure the pasture? Do you have a plate meter? Do you have a tow behind, or do you have some other form of measuring pasture over the whole farm? And how much time do you devote to that aspect, just managing the grass? Because that is the key to your performance, isn't it?
You did right. Had quite a little bit of funny one there. I went to get the plate meter out the other day, and it actually seized. I hadn't used it for about 4 years, and somehow it seized itself. But it is a tool that we have used in the past. We just haven't to use it for the last sort of few years. But you did right. It is the biggest part of the business, getting the pasture right, isn't it? As everyone here should know. But other than that, that's also got on farm is a C's plate meter and just an eye, really, yeah, and just trying to train people to see what I see. And I'm not always right, but I'd like to think I'm mostly right, and trying to get everyone on the same page is a big thing, yeah. Devoting time to this, yeah, sure. Definitely, especially you're just always keeping an eye out, just trying to be observant all the time. You're always trying to, on a farm, you always want to be looking, as you're driving along, eyes are open, is a big thing. So you just know what's coming up. How's it regrowing? Is it, how's the general farm landscape looking? The big thing is just observation.
I think we had.
Pardon? Yes, we record each grazing in the book, and we have it on one page, so we can see exactly where we've been for the month and every month before that. So we can kind of refer back to where they were. You know what paddocks are roughly coming up. You tell the guys to go check that, or you go have a look yourself, and then you kind of go off that. But as I say, a farm like this is never the paddock next to the one that's just been grazed. It's always there's just some that grow better than others. Some catch the sun better. Some haven't been grazed as hard or something like that. So the juggling act. Yeah.
Go Lachlan.
Just looking at that graph up there, past Eaton, the green line there is past Eaton, and you've got 22, 23 is 15.6, and then you're dropping down to 13.4. Hopefully that's not a trend from the increase in supplementary feeding.
No.
And we are going to cover that with Jane's session straight after this. So.
Yeah. No, it's not a trend. It looks like a bit of a trend, but it was exceptionally good spring that year. We worked out because I was looking at those numbers myself, saying, "What the heck happened here?" But we had a friggin' real tough summer that year. That really cost us a lot of pasture there in those short times. So the big focus always is to grow as much pasture as possible, and I haven't used ProJib for the last couple of years, so that's been a bit of a thing. I don't know whether that's contributed to those numbers there that hard, but I think that was due to a lot of timing issues and things like that. So there's definitely room for improvement. I think we're definitely not at the peak of what we can grow. I think we can always do better, but you just got to make the most of each season as it sort of turns up. Yeah.
I think we got time for a couple more questions. Malcolm's chomping at the bit. And then
No, I'm not sure I'm chomping at the bit, but firstly, congratulations to these guys. This is outstanding, and it's just so refreshing. A big group of people standing in front of a pasture growth and supply curve. I happen to be standing next to Kevin McDonald. We're both really loving it. So, but my question is, there's a lot being made in the industry at the moment around hitting pasture yield, kind of a ceiling and everything else. I'm personally a bit over it, to be honest, because I wonder whether or not there's a bit of pasture growth suppression going on. And I'm just interested in the 70-day, I don't want to over focus on the rotation length piece, but the 70-day round in the winter, I wonder how much of that's impacted by the opportunity to graze off, and whether or not that then comes back to haunt you in the later spring, because with the spring rotation planner, your starting point 70 versus maybe 90. And I also wonder whether or not the later spring 24-day round is influenced somewhat by the fact that you've got the lever to pull in the shed. Just so much to enjoy and see with what you guys are doing, but I'm interested in your comments as to whether or not there's potentially a level of pasture growth suppression going on because of the decisions you're making, because of the input opportunities you've got.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, there certainly probably could be. James can help me answer that one as well later on. I think we're covering it again. But that's definitely. I know it's not a traditional way of doing it, because I know when I was share milking, we didn't have wintering off and those sorts of things, so I kept a lot longer around then. But just the basically knowing I got the extra area in the winter, and just knowing the grass will still keep growing through here in June and that sort of thing. This is how I've kind of sort of found my sweet spot. But yeah, it can always be improved, as I say. But and utilising the imported feeds, as I say, they've been favourable for the last few years doing that. So it's kind of how we've kind of tracked, and what it would look like if they became uneconomical is a great question, and we'd have to just take it kind of by ear. Like, we're not set in this. The big thing is we're not set in our way we're doing it now. We are changing it year by year, and how the economics sort of work. So it's all about being proactive on just changing it as it kind of goes. Yeah.
And I think that's a good segue into what we were going to do to get the blood moving with people before we break into the next session with Jane, and answer all of your questions for the boards over there. And please feel free to keep any questions coming through, because if we have spare time, we'll happily answer them. But what we're going to do is, I just asked one thing of such a big crowd. Those that know what the 3 leaf stage is and actively use it as a decision rule in their farming business, can you put your hand up? There's some brave souls. I'm going to ask you to come and stand over by the 2650 sign, if you can make your way over there. And then Hugh and I are going to take our mics and we're going to stand behind you, so it's forcing you to get up, turn around, and we're going to do a bit of a practical. This is Hugh's pasture management in 15 minutes. Okay? So a bit of a practical, this is what he actually does, because that's always the question. Is, okay, talk about it, show it on a board, but show me what you actually do.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
So those, if they can stand over at 2650, don't be shy. You know what I mean? I saw a few hands. Come over there. We're going to stand behind you and make you turn around. So you're going to have to hop out of your seat and come over and spread out so you can see Hugh in action. So this, as we mentioned earlier, Hugh was hoping this paddock would be ready to be the next paddock for his cows. Obviously, growth rates and that change. But I said it's still good for him to show us and tell us. So you come into this paddock and I'm going, okay, this was in my grazing book, supposedly the next one. I come in here, we've measured it at 2650 for you. He was a little bit lower than that. His comment was, it's not ready, but take us through your process of what you do when you come into a paddock.
Okay, so yep, basically we're coming into a paddock. You're getting I just do first off, I do a general overall opinion of the paddock. So we're looking at clumps, campsites, hillsides, things like that aren't, that are going to make it change from the average. So you've basically just got to get an overall picture of the paddock, and then we're going to start looking at the tillers of the paddock. So basically we're looking at this 3-leaf stage. So without pulling all my grass out of my paddock, please. No. You can... Yep. Okay, so we're looking at the 3-leaf stage here. So there's a pretty good example here. We've got 1, 2, 3 leaves. And a lot of your dry matters holding up through the 3rd leaf there. And you're looking for that to be, as long as sort of possible, looking for a overall length of ideally about 10 centimetres or slightly more, 10 to 12 centimetres. A lot of this is quite a lot shorter, so you're still looking for another maybe 5, 7, even 10 days this time of year for it to just get that extra dry matter growth in that last sort of leaf. A big sort of rule of thumb I've heard years ago was grass is like a solar panel, so the sort of longer it is, the more energy it takes in and actually grows. So that's why you're trying not to go on too fast around, because you miss out a lot of grass growth that way.
So they always talk about 2.5 to 3 leaf stage being the optimum. Yep. Do you err one way more than the other at different times of the year? And if you're looking now, what is definitely what you're looking for?
Definitely always trying to aim for the 3 leaf, or without losing too much quality in the base. But always looking. I've got a lot of cows to feed, so you're always trying to optimise what's in the paddock and what's there. So the longer you can kind of hold out to graze it, the better.
How many tillers would you look at in a paddock to make a decision?
Not too many, to be honest, because almost in a hurry. But no, definitely go in there and look at least a couple, and you're just looking at clumps. And what I don't really, I kind of ignore clumps and always looking at the sparser ones areas and just seeing how they're looking, because they're going to disappear real quick. A couple of mouthfuls and they're gone. So big thing is just really getting the overall picture of the paddock and picking out those lighter points, and going from there, really.
Why avoid clumps?
Because the clumps are clumps. They're a smaller portion of the paddock. At the same time, you're trying to make sure you don't have too many of those, so that they get out of control, and they're the ones that are going to lose quality the fastest. So the whole thing is trying to keep the quality there, and because quality makes it, the ME is what makes the milk, and
So
we'll go from there.
The other day when we come out, you wanted to really reinforce the ME over kgs of dry matter.
Yep, definitely. Hence the fast around sort of through spring and that. It does come back and haunt you if you're going too fast, and it's hasn't kept up with what you're trying to achieve. But that's where the use of nitrogen and things like that we try and chase as well. But yeah, so the big thing is trying to keep the quality there. But if it gets too long, over getting into 3,000 and that, I think you're starting to lose a bit of ME, and you really want to avoid that. You'll soon they might be full tanks and don't want to move out of the paddock, but you find that sometimes the milk's not even there, and you're wondering what's going on, and that can be the big part of it, I think.
Okay. So, standing in this paddock, we all got down and dirty earlier and had a look.
Put it on my grass.
I'd like you all to look into the sward below you and pull out a tiller. He's going, oh my God, I've lost 2,000 cover.
You cost me a quarter of a tonne of palm kernel here.
I'm hearing a creaking of knees and a lot of, oh. Yeah. Does somebody want to say anything about what they notice when they go to look at this pasture and pull a tiller out? Anybody want to volunteer an opinion? Because I think it's pretty, like for a paddock, self-professed, doesn't know what cultivar it is, doesn't know how old it is, wouldn't have an idea of endified or anything. It's a pretty thick, healthy looking paddock. Anybody disagree? Pretty weed free.
Yeah, it's got weeds in it, but yeah. It is a hospital paddock after all.
Yep.
Takes a hiding.
Yep. But nobody needs to come up afterwards and ask, how do I find a tiller? The group over here that was self-professed tiller junkies, and they all came over here and started pulling them out of the ground. Anything to add as a group to what Hugh does? And Steph's got a mic.
What I can see is there's a whole lot of tillers at different stages of growth.
Yep. Which is, to Hugh's point.
Yep. Basically, as I say, this paddock in particular is our sort of hospital paddock, so it's never got the exact demand on it. As always, you got a varying rate of cows, and you're always trying to feed them a little bit better because you're looking after them. So it probably doesn't hit residual as often as it should, this paddock. But it's so it's a bit of an anomaly, but it's kind of the reason why it's not grazed to such even cover. Yeah.
I actually looked over the fence because you've acknowledged this is a hospital paddock. There's still a huge variation into the non-urine patches, are significantly shorter than the urine patches. So your urine patches, cows are grazing the urine patches well over 3,000 cover in there, and yet you're saying you're not going into a paddock if it's over, if it's 3,000, you're saying it's starting to get too high.
Yes, as an average, yep.
Yeah.
So you've got patches, obviously, and there's not a lot I can kind of do about those. But
So the question is that there's a large 85% of that paddock is growing significantly slower
Yep.
than the urine patches. Is
Yep.
there potential there for you to be able to, and this could be a question for later, is there still significant potential to grow more grass?
Definitely is, yeah, of course.
And how do we do that then?
By being an
question of other
eco-terrorist
people.
and putting on a whole more urea to make everything level.
No, but we also did make the comment, the front third of that paddock, because by eye we always all thought it was over 3,000 as an average, that whole paddock. The front third of that paddock is probably well over 3,000, and then you move back a third and it drops 200 to 300, and then you've got that sort of lighter hillside. But that's the beauty of what Hugh's talking about. I need to look over a whole paddock, and I don't just look from a gateway, from a race. Like he's constantly observing, he said, but his final decision is always, I've got to go in and have a decent look around and work that final decision out. For this paddock, he said, not quite ready. that one
Good to go.
good to go. Yeah. Because in your opinion, you'd be loath to see the front of that paddock get any longer.
Yeah, that's right. You're dead right. There's definitely patches in there that are looking way too long already, but I know if I try to put my 350 cows in there and the rest of it's not quite there yet, you end up suffering in milk. So it's a little bit of a juggling act there, but as I say, you've got to work on averages a bit there.
Just another comment on my daughter tiller. My tiller has 2 daughter tillers off the side, so someone was asking why the pasture's so thick if both of those survive. So do you think about the daughter tillers as you're doing your grass management?
Not particularly. Not really.
Well,
just
what you're
kinda,
doing is looking after them. It's
Yep.
obviously showing through.
And when we were pulling tillers out in both paddocks this morning, we were having to strip off multiple daughter tillers on every plant, which is part of the that looking after the plant, it's reproducing itself. That's why you're not touching it.
That's right.
It's
Yep.
reinforce what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Any final question? And then we're going to go back to Jane, and you can take a seat again and shuffle up, and all the quiet ones have to sit at the front.
I've got a question, Mark. Just how do we make these daughter tillers? Like, can you explain for your question?
That's
not a question for me.
For me, there is some science brains in this crowd who could answer that really well.
Hang on. Jane's going to answer my question about daughter tillers.
Awesome.
Thanks, Steph. And I'm Emma, animal scientist, so I'm sure there's a couple of agronomists or forest scientists in here that'll correct me if I'm wrong. But basically, the ryegrass plant reproduces through the daughter tillers. And when you graze down, that's why that residual is so important. Like Hugh said, it's important for the quality of the feed ahead, but it's also important for those daughter tillers. So when you graze down the paddock, your first leaf comes out. You want to leave that 4 centimetres there because that's where the energy is stored in the ryegrass, and that helps that first leaf come out. Also, if you graze down to that sort of 4 centimetre residual, you have a little bud at the bottom, which is your daughter tiller. If you leave high residuals, not enough light gets in, and that daughter tiller can't develop. Also, high residuals, those daughter tillers sit further up the plant, and what happens then? They put their roots down. That's the future of your pasture, but they put their roots down. If those roots can't get back into the soil, you lose that daughter tiller. So that residual is really, really important. It lets enough light into the base for your daughter tiller to grow at the bottom, and I saw the same. I saw heaps of daughter tillers there. That's how you get persistencies. That's how your ryegrass reproduces, how it fills in those gaps. So, and also coming in, like you say, Hugh, at that 2.5, 3 leaf stage, because the solar panels have caught that light, they've put the energy in, and it's allowed that daughter tiller to develop. So that residual is there for lots of reasons. It's not just a number that someone's pulled out of thin air. It's there to maintain or to eat all the leaf in front of you, maintain the quality in the next round, and then support those daughter tillers to put their roots into the ground and give you that dense pasture that you're coming into in the next round.
Very well answered, thank you.
I'd just like to know how often you soil test to keep these pastures at its best.
Every 2 years we get it soil tested.
Okay. To keep the time, we're going to shift back over and focus on the other 2 boards. Thank you.